Hello everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Zero to Squat. Hopefully by this point, everybody who's been following along is starting to feel just a little bit more comfortable using the muscles through here, through the hips, and kind of getting them to do a little bit more of what you want them to do. We're still a little bit ways off from the end goal on this, but now we've laid, I think, a very good foundation. And so as I mentioned last time, is that if anybody is struggling to get through these on the week of, or if they feel like they need a little bit more time before they make the progressions into the things that we talk about today, that's fine. By all means, feel free to repeat a week or add the one thing that you think you can handle. These are really meant to be somewhat flexible, even though they provide a bit of structure for how we might be able to go from here to here. So with that being said, let's go down onto the floor, or our version of it. So all of the exercises today, once again, are going to be down here. Okay, so the first one is going to be a small progression on the heel tapping that we did last week. So if we take the core muscles here, bring that tailbone up, bring those ribs down, and just to refresh, we had heel, heel, trying to maintain this contraction here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change it a little bit, and we're going to see if we can't go that same tailbone up, ribs down, pressure across the front, and we're going to see if we can lift one leg up to meet us, and then come back down. And then the other leg, knee towards the chest, and back down, like so. Making sure that we don't rock or lose this during the motion. It's quite tempting when this comes up to round, and when this comes down to let everything go. It's a very back and forth rocking type motion. Feels pretty natural. Don't do that. Let it come to you, and then let it come down while this maintains, just like so. So that's our progression from the heel taps. The second thing we're going to do down here is we are going to adjust the bridging motion into something that's a little bit more challenging. So we still start with that same position, hips close to heels, relatively vertical shin angle, knees as wide as the hips, nice and parallel. From this position now, we're going to choose one foot, and we're going to slide it forward slightly until its heel is roughly in line with the toes of the other foot. And so this will depend on the size of your feet and the length of your legs, but something that creates this bit of a staggered position. Once we have that stagger, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our knees are as wide as our hips, and then we're going to push up towards the ceiling. So very similar bridging motion. All we've really done in this position is we've offset the feet in such a way that this leg that's closer to my hips has a much easier time pushing into the floor than the other leg, which is now further away from my body. And so this closer leg is probably doing now more like 65, 70% of the lift. The other leg is now doing 30. And so while it's a tiny bit of a break for this leg in comparison, the leg over here, closer to my hip, is having to do more than 50-50. And so it's going to start to develop just a little bit more strength. And we'll switch the legs here so we can see it from this angle as well. Developing a little bit more strength on the close leg, in this case now it's the right, so that it can start to get ready for the idea of doing something with a bit more body weight and a bit more resistance, our squats down the road, like so. Still going at a nice even pace, no need to hold for any real length of time. Do think though at the top of the motion about if you can squeeze the back of your hip, your glutes, give them a good firm squeeze at the top to finish the motion. The third exercise is going to be relatively unchanged from last week. We're just going to try to get a little bit better at it, and that is our leg lift or our hip abduction motion. So coming down once again onto your side, bottom leg can remain bent for a little bit of added balance. The top leg straightens out, toes pointed forward or slightly down towards the floor, and then just lifting up to whatever position you feel you can manage, feeling that squeeze and that work happening up in the side and the back of the hip primarily. If you're feeling it more across the front of the thigh or into the quads, make sure that your toes aren't pointed towards the ceiling, turn them down. Make sure the leg is in line with the body, not forward. Those are the two most common things that may change. Something that you may want to consider a little bit more this week than last week is if you take that same core contraction, that tailbone up, ribs down, And see if you can maintain that while you're doing the leg lift, like so. Good. And then we do that on both sides. So now that brings us to the end of week 4, roughly the halfway mark between where we started and where we're going. And so, as always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below or get in touch with our office. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for watching.